Hello enchanted ones, and welcome back to another video. This week join me as I transform myself into a living fairy that my dreams were made of. So sit back, relax and keep on watching. As you all know, I love fairies and everything about them, and I already have transformed my home into a fairy's nest, and now it is time to do the most extra thing of all. Hello enchanted ones, and welcome back to a very special video. The reason why it's a very special video is because I'm going to be doing something I haven't done before and I'm really excited about it. Because on Sunday I'm going to a festival, a fairy festival, and I thought if I'm going to a fairy festival I'm going to need a costume, and not just any basic fairy costume. I want to make this costume and I want to make it really exciting, and I want to really get into a character of a fairy because of course I like making things a little bit extra, as you know. It's just going to be really fun. What I thought we could do today is get some inspiration from the woods, but also I want to take you somewhere really special to me that holds a lovely place in my heart. And I've already decided what kind of fairy I'm going to be, and that was really obvious, if I'm honest, because if you think about my name and the kind of tree I love, it's going to be an oak fairy. I'm going to finish my tea and we're going to go into the woods. I'll see you in a minute. To get to this very special fairyland spot, it isn't easy. It is quite a long journey. I started by travelling up Scent Valley. This is where the fir trees release this amazing sweet scent. However, it is quite muddy, even on the warmest of days. I then travelled down Ancestor Way, a long winding path that leads me to one of my favourite places, Ancestor Place. Here, the fir trees trail over you so regally. Travel through this and you will come across the majestic Everflow River. She is so calming and peaceful, and as you follow her path upwards, you will notice that it gets smaller and smaller, and once you reach a certain point, it will begin to look a little overgrown with the many tangled roots on the ground. So I had to watch where I stepped. This path is so secluded, and I have never seen anyone down it, yet it is one of the most beautiful places within the wood, an oak wood. The trees here are hundreds of years old, and they all have such a unique story to tell. And in case you didn't know, oak woods are sacred to the fairy folk. It is from this point you are on the fairies' trail, and in my eyes I envision fairies all around, hiding and camouflaging themselves within the trees. Folklore suggests that each oak tree contains a metropolis of fairies, and each acorn has its own sprite, but the tree itself is a great portal to the other realms. Where I'm headed though is the point where the water for the Everflow River is released into the wood, and here lies the most astonishing living oak tree I have ever seen. I'm going to put it like this, just in case a fairy shows itself to me. Here I am. I am with the tree, the oak tree I named the portal into the enchanted woods. And doesn't it just look like that? It looks like literally someone could poof in. It's just been on such a journey. I mean, How does a tree get to this state? I have no idea. It is truly an inspiration. So this place that it is in, as you just saw, is very secluded, it's very overgrown, and it is extremely quirky. And I can confidently say that all of these trees possess some sort of quality to make me think that a fairy would live there. But the thing is, I haven't seen any of these fairies yet. Of course, they are hiding from me. I'm going to take inspiration from that for my costume, and I'm going to create a fairy costume that is camouflaged. It uses a lot of different things from nature, of course. Oak leaves is something that I'm going to be using, and maybe some kind of rustic tones like browns, just so I can blend in, and I'll have a story behind my costume which might give me the edge, because if I haven't said already, there's a fairy costume competition and I'm going to enter it, and I'm going to hopefully be the winner with my story. So this is my inspiration. Let me know what you think of it. I'm gonna go home. This journey took way too long and I didn't bring any water with me, so I'm so thirsty. I hope you enjoyed this little trip, my loves. When I arrived home, I started sketching what my fairy's outfit would look like. Natural colours, leaves. I wanted this fairy to look like she just crawled out of her oak tree. There are so many different types of fairies, but mine is going to be a solitary fairy, a fairy who grew up with the animals and trees. She has a strong connection with oaks and their mothering souls, and she'd use the fallen oak leaves to help her stay covered, connected, and warm. However, as much as I'd love to glue real oak leaves to my skin, I decided to use an old stretchy black top that has seen better days. And for the leaves, I used this bright green felt to help me get the shapes I wanted. Of course, I used real oak leaves. I'm in love with how oak leaves look. They are so quirky and fun. I drew around them onto my felt many times so I had enough to cover the top. In folk belief, carrying around an oak leaf is a great way to always perceive the truth of a matter, and to catch a falling oak leaf will protect against illness all winter. After I had finished all of my beautiful oak leaves, I arranged them onto my top. However, to sew these on, I needed to pay a visit to someone with a sewing machine, my mum. So I went on a little journey around the bend. I arranged all the leaves on the top, front and back, and pinned them all on. And I was kindly greeted by this little guy, who surprisingly loved the pincushion, but don't worry, I took it away from him. Naughty. After this, I threaded the sewing machine and very carefully sewed each oak leaf down the middle. In Ireland, many believe that fairy trees are hawthorn or ash trees. These trees usually stand alone and have large stones around them in circles. What's mysterious though is how these stones got there in the first place. So if you ever see a tree standing alone in a farmer's field, it might be because the landowner thinks to cut it down would be bad luck and could potentially curse the land. It was at this point I had new respect for dressmakers. It really did take ages, but it was all worth it in the end, as the top was so comfortable and exactly the vision I had in my head. Now the top was complete, it was time to work on the bottom half. I chose a fabric that was sheer and light brown in colour, and actually you may not realise this, but this fabric is a pair of curtains. I often use curtains for costume skirts, as believe me, it is so easy to do. The fabric is floaty and beautiful. All you need is a belt. Thread it through the belt and over the top of some shorts or leggings. Wrap the belt around your waist, and it's as simple as that. But the fabric was too long, so I firstly cut it to length and then placed it over a chair and cut raggedy edges to the skirt to make it look warm, but also when I dance I wanted the dress to fly out and be beautiful. If you ask me if I hemmed this, the answer is no. I am not a professional dressmaker, plus I'm extremely impatient. So I placed my skirt back on, and it was exactly the movement and effect I wanted. The fairy looked like she was floating on air, but the skirt was a little plain. It needed more leaves, and more leaves is something I had already ordered. These were again oak leaves and were a little thicker than the felt I used earlier, and I liked how they looked more natural and curled. The only thing I didn't like was this strange white colour, so I spent the evening painting each one green, making sure it resembled the oak leaves I had in my vision. And the next day it was time to begin a very, very long process. I individually stitched all these leaves onto my dress. I stitched them at the bottom to make them look as if the leaves got caught in the dress when the fairy was moving around. A piece of folklore I have held close to my heart is that if you ever see the sapling of an oak tree, make sure to draw a circle around it. As it is still quite frail, the circle will protect the fairies living inside this tree, and they will be grateful for your help. The whole process took many hours. I had no sense of time, and honestly, I felt like I was in another realm. But after the skirt was complete, it was time to give a little dusting of gold to everything I had created, which will be my fairy dust. Many fairies would use fairy dust to help the flowers and plants grow, but of course in some tales they would use it to fly. I hung all of these items up, but I was missing one thing. A fairy crown. I have this crown that is very basic and plain, simply made out of wire and flower arranging tape, and I wanted to beautify it with items a fairy might place upon this, so I got into the mind of a fairy once more. I have this beautiful oak tree at the bottom of my garden, and every day I find little gifts in my garden from her, so it didn't take long until I gathered an abundance of oak leaves. I also gathered some seed heads from my garden. I could imagine the oak fairy dancing and patrolling, and these seeds would fall from the crown, spreading them to grow next spring. As it isn't acorn season quite yet, I couldn't place them upon my crown. However, if you do find an acorn, bringing one into the house is a great way to enhance contact with the fairy realm. I then began gluing all of my items onto my crown with my trusty glue gun. And you may ask, where are my fairy wings? Well, did you know that in most folklore, fairies don't actually have wings? They often seek rides from fellow animal friends, such as the back of birds or on ragwort stems. And I could imagine my fairy on the back of a little robin. Now everything was ready. All that was left to do was to have one more sleep before the fairy festival began.
Hello enchanted ones. It's 8 o'clock and it's the morning of the fairy festival. I'm getting ready and I'm not a morning person, so this is why I'm like this. I've got everything here. I'm going to start with my hair. I think it should be curly. I use this curling wand. Let's hope I wake up by the time I'm finished. Of course, I need my ears to show. I don't have any elf ears, but considering my ears stick out anyway, which have always been made fun of by the way, I'm embracing it now after 29 years because it's just the perfect elf ear. All those people that made fun of me, thank you, because now I know who I am. My face needs to look like a fairy's face, but a fairy on a special occasion's face. I haven't planned this, so let's just wing it and see what happens.
The time is 8:53 a.m.
Okay, cool. Green. I need green. I'm gonna say they're not meant to match. No. My friends are gonna hate me. Doesn't that just look so perfect on my wedding day? I hope to see this too. I'm not having basic white on my wedding day, no. Ta-da! Okay, so for the next step, I'm putting ivy. I am ready. Feel for the first time in all of my videos, I have truly transformed myself into Alwyn Oak. I felt just at home here, and even though a few passers-by were staring, I truly didn't care. It was a moment to remember.
and perhaps I've influenced them to one day do the same thing. After I went into the woods, it was time for the fairy festival. I hope you enjoy. Is he looking at me? Yeah. Oh, he's really smiling. Look at you boys. Oh my God.
Reggie's girlfriend, he loves Reggie's, that's Reggie's girlfriend. You gotta go.
Unfortunately, I didn't win the costume competition. I had a story to tell about my fairy, but wasn't asked about it, although she did call me a forest fairy. Thank you for watching, Enchanted Ones, and thank you so much for coming along this journey with me. Please let me know what was your favourite below. And if you were a fairy, what kind of fairy would you be? All my love, Alwyn.
You walk to the other.
He's found some poo on the floor.